Welcome to our One World Zohar connection, our energy connection with the Zohar. And as we begin, let's turn our consciousness, obviously, to sending healing to everyone we know who needs healing, but also let's connect to the energy of Ahavat Chinam, unconditional love for the world, for everyone in the world, moving chaos and negativity from our world, ending the wars and conflicts in our world, safety, protection for all those innocents that are in harm's way, energy of healing and comfort for those who have suffered losses in the recent terrorist attacks and other shootings that have taken place, um, protection from evil eye and evil speech, and also the opportunity right now to connect to the hidden light. So the thing about Hanukkah, which is right now, today's the fifth day. Tonight we'll be lighting the sixth candle for the sixth day, which is tonight and tomorrow. So the thing about Hanukkah is like it is giving us access to a lot of light that's hidden, the Or HaGanuz, the hidden light. So all the light's always accessible, but it's hidden. So it's harder to access. But on Hanukkah itself, it's more accessible. So when we connect to the verses we're about to connect to, there's more light to be revealed than perhaps in any other time because there's more hidden light that is available to us on Hanukkah. Of course, as I pointed out before, the fact that we also have the energy of Shabbat, the Sabbath coming in, and also the energy of the new moon of Capricorn coming in is also just super, super powerful opportunity for us to connect to that hidden light. And especially in light of a lot of negativity that we see going on in the world, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering going on all over the place. Our ability to channel more light is us turning light on within the darkness, of removing that darkness from our realm. And this particular section of Zohar that I chose, which is the first verse in the section of Miketz, this week's reading, which is in volume 6, and in my edition of the Zohar is on page 151, is verse 1 of Miketz. So let's dive in. V'himiketz, Rabbi Chia patach ve'amar, ketz sam l'choshech u'l'chol tachlit, hu choker Evan ofel v'tzalmavet. Hakra itmar ketz sam l'choshech. Da'ihu ketz dismala. Di'u shat be'alma. V'shat le'ela. V'kaima kamei kutra b'yechu. V'aste v'katrig al alma. V'ha'itmar u'lochol tachlit hu choker. Daha kol ovadoi lav inun la'at. Ela l'shei sa'a. Tadir u'lmebad klaya be'alma. Ron, Aaron,
Yeah.
before you read the actual translation for verse 1, let's read the relevance that we have on this passage.
Okay. Relevance. The energy arising from the mystical shapes of the Hebrew letters enlightens us to the severity of our negative actions and their consequences.
Okay, so the first point is that there's energy coming from these letters. This isn't the English alphabet, the ABCs. This is the ancient Aramaic alphabet, which our tradition teaches us was not developed by man. This was given to us by the light. These letters were given to us by the light. And so what they represent Kabbalistically are channels to the light of the Creator. Where's that? Well, it's not something we can see or connect to easily. What are the ways that we connect with it? Well, one of the ways is through the letters. An even more powerful way of connecting with it is through the words of the Zohar, which give us a direct connection to the upper realm. And especially on Hanukkah, and especially with Shabbat coming in, especially with the new moon coming in, it's a tremendous opportunity to connect to the energy behind these letters. These letters are channels to energy, and every individual letter is a specific channel, and the combinations of letters that form words are specific channels, and those words that form verses are very specific channels. So the relevance of this particular series of letters, words, and verses, the energy that we're able to channel enlightens us, as Aaron just read, to the severity of our negative actions and their consequences. And so what does that mean? Wake up. It's giving us the opportunity, it's giving us assistance to see what's in our blind spots. We wouldn't do negative things purposely. I mean, maybe we would. Maybe we delude ourselves. Maybe we lie to ourselves and mislead ourselves. Not maybe, for sure we do. But we don't always see cause and effect. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? It's not a big deal. And who is that voice in my head that says it's not a big deal? It's the other side. It's the opponent. It's the Satan, whatever word you want to attach. It is not you. It is not your soul. That's one of the games the Satan plays, convincing you that that negative, selfish voice in your head is actually you. It's not you. Your soul has no interest in doing those things. But in this world, that voice is so overwhelming because we're in the realm where the opponent has the advantage. And again, to my earlier point, when we have the confluence of multiple openings in the cosmos, the opening that Hanukkah gives us, the opening that Shabbat gives us, the opening that the seed level of the new moon gives us, we're able to see more, we're able to channel more. And what do I want to see? I want to see where my blockages are. I want to see where my negativity is. I want to see what my limitations are. I want to see what my limiting mindsets are. Because the limiting mindsets are literally blocking me as a channel. And as we've discussed, and I don't think I can repeat this enough, at least for myself, I can't. I hope it works for you guys, is this idea of our ability to connect different levels of our soul. And what we've been focusing on is the levels of nefesh, ruach, and neshama, the first three levels of soul. When I'm at the level of nefesh, that's the most basic level. I'm going through life trying to navigate life's challenges. Stuff keeps happening to me. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm being victimized in this way. Stuff keeps happening, but like it is what it is. What can I do? That's the base level of soul. That's nefesh. At the level of ruach, I'm now able to see that nothing is happening to me. It's all happening for me. And at the next level of elevation of soul, I'm just a channel. And so the more that we can understand that everything that's happening is happening for me, the greater channel I can become to bring in more light into the world. And the world has a lot of negativity. And we're like, what can I do? There's only one thing I can really do, and that's work on me, work on revealing more of my soul. And each one of us, it's not like my work is any more important than anyone else's. It's not. Each one of us has an equal role in revealing the light of the Creator. It may be a different role, but I can't quantify what's more important than not. I mean, maybe someone out here just needs to hold the door open for somebody as they're entering the supermarket. That's the only thing that's left necessary to bring an end to the pain and suffering in the world. We don't know. And like when we attach our logical mind to it, we're that's a limiting mindset, our logical mind. That's what it means to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The Satan, the snake, wants you to take a bite of that apple and start making judgments of what's good and bad, what's many, what's few. By the way, one of the miracles, significant miracles of Hanukkah itself, the reason why we light the candelabra is because at the time the Chashmonaim went back and rededicated the temple and went back in, and with that they ushered in a whole new era of peace in the world. But what the things that they found when they were able to do that was they found oil. I mean, all the oil had been soiled. None of it was still held together by the seal of purity that the bottles had. They found one last bottle, enough for one day. And so they lit that as they rededicated the temple to relight the eternal lamp. And with that, it actually lasted for 8 days. So was the miracle the fact that the oil burned longer? No, what it told us was this is an opportunity to connect to the realm of miracles. But the other significant event was the fact that the Chashmonaim, the Maccabees, were able to defeat a Greek army that was much more powerful and much more numerous. I mean, the odds it was like betting on the long shot. And that's the other significant miracle. It's like the few were able to defeat the many. And so let's not, what is that? What is that? Okay, big deal. That's great historically, but what does that do with us? Don't quantify things. Don't say your effort doesn't matter. We don't know. It might look like a little thing. It doesn't matter. Little things overcome big things all the time. In the realm of miracles, we don't even know what's small and large. So again, all the confluence of all these opportunities is a tremendous opportunity for us to bring more light into the world, to bring more understanding into the world, to bring more healing into the world. Okay, let's continue.
Negative behavior rooted in the left column refers to self-indulgence without regard or concern for others.
And that's the thing, not really thinking about the impact of what we do on others. Go ahead.
Awareness and careful management of both columns, of receiving and of sharing, bring lasting light to our lives.
Okay, so this goes right to the Kabbalistic concept of three columns, which is a major, major foundational idea that there's a right column energy of sharing, that there's a left column energy of judgment and restriction, and then there's a central column which represents that balance. Okay, well, I guess that's great if I'm in a physics course, I guess. I don't know. But like, how's that helping me in my life? I can be too merciful. I can be too judgmental. I need to strike a balance between the mercy and judgment. That's how the channels open up. That's how the central column of balance is able to bring blessings into the world by achieving that balance. Let's continue.
Inattention to either column creates imbalance. Sharing without receiving, right column without left column, for example, quickly depletes our resources.
If you're always giving and you're not really taking care of yourself, you're gonna feel tapped out very quickly. And so it's this whole idea of we don't want to look at ourselves as limited. We want to look at ourselves as channels, connecting to abundance, unlimited abundance. Go ahead.
If we share water from a glass without replenishment, the glass will soon be empty. Receiving without sharing is like casting a dehydrated man into the middle of a raging sea. Though he is in desperate need of water, overabundance eventually drowns him. Reading this section has a stabilizing effect on our spirituality and on the decisions we make. Intuitively, we begin making that strike, a delicate balance between knowing when to share and when to receive.
Yeah, there's a word missing in that sense. I'm not sure what it is, but the bottom line is for us, it's giving us the opportunity to strike that balance between giving and receiving. Yes, Aaron.
I just wanted to share, like, it's just no coincidence you asked me to read the English for this because when I was a brand new student, like looking for a breakthrough in my finances, and my teacher at the time was like, study and scan Miketz. And I
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, yeah.
and I kept like referring back to this verse, this exact verse, because at the time I was like saying yes to everything, and I was like completely depleted, basically, right? So
Right.
like just like it just really resonated with me to have that balance of okay, like how am I going to share, when to say no, right? No with love, like that kind of thing. So it just this verse is very relevant for me.
Super powerful. Well, there are verses in Miketz that we read at every new moon. I'm not reading those right now, they're further in, but like there are tremendous opportunities here to open up channels for both physical and spiritual sustenance. But to your point, saying yes is a merciful thing. What's wrong with saying yes? Well, I'm not taking care of myself. Perhaps I'm not taking care of myself.
Hmm.
Perhaps I'm saying yes to someone who's just like, it's just a taker, and I'm not able to replenish. So like we have to construct boundaries, spiritual and emotional boundaries. And we have to keep that balance there. So thanks for sharing that. That's really, really powerful. Okay, Aaron, on to verse one. And here we are all right, that's all great. But there's a story that's going on this week. Let's pick up with that.
Okay, verse 1. And it came to pass at the end of 2 years, Rabbi Hia opened the discussion with the verse, He puts an end to darkness and searches out all perfection, the stone of darkness and the shadow of death.
Okay, so it starts off with umiketz, yihi miketz hashanim, so or shtei shanim. So it was like the story begins, the title verse begins with Vihi Miketz Shnatayim. And it came to pass at the end of 2 years. So who can tell me what came to pass? What's the story? Anybody?
Yeah, it's a reference to Joseph being in jail.
Right. Joseph was in jail. And what was he in jail for? Anyone know? Peter, feel free you probably know the whole story. Joseph was in jail. Listen, here's what happened. In our last week's, episode, Joseph goes to see his brothers. The last week or 2 weeks ago, Joseph goes to see his brothers because they're tending to the flock. Um, and they see him and they really don't like him. He's been sharing these dreams about how they're going to all bow down to him and that he looked like he was his father's favorite. I mean, they just all resented him and they took him and threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. He goes down to Egypt. So like for Joseph, there's been this continual downward spiral. He goes down to Egypt. He is working for one of the governors of the land and ends up getting thrown in jail on a false claim. I don't want to go into that. He's in jail. The butler and the baker have dreams. He interprets their dreams. He says the butler is going to hang the next day, but the wine steward is going to be reinstated. In fact, he says to the wine steward, remember me. And so what we're taught is because he put his faith and trust into the wine steward and not the creator, he got a 2-year extension on his prison sentence. That's what's coming to a close here. So it's like, how do I process that? And what does that have to do with how does that relate to my life? Remember, when we're studying the Zohar, it must have present moment relevance. It must. Otherwise, what's the point? This isn't history class. This isn't Western Civ. This is about decoding the spiritual rules of engagement so I can manifest my soul in the world, so I can manifest more light, so I can bring the Gemara Tikkun, do my part to end pain and suffering in the world. So the takeaway here, which I think is important for us to consider, because it's really an opportunity for us, is to understand that the processes we're involved with, we can ask for help, but we don't want to lose sight of the emunah and bitachon we have in the Creator, our certainty and trust in the light. We don't want to lose sight that ultimately is what determines how processes go. But it's hard. I have an interaction with somebody. It's just it's just going poorly. I can't believe they're acting this way. Okay, it's coming from the light. It's not happening. I know it looks like they're being not nice to you. Because on a certain level, that's what's happening, but that's not what's happening. The light has put them into your light to teach you some lesson. It's always the case. And again, that's how we move from victim consciousness at nefesh to understanding things happen for us at the level of ruach. I need to elevate my consciousness. Why? Can't I just be a normal reactive person? Because it is normal. Can I just be a normal reactive person? You can. It's free will. You can do whatever you want. But if you're on this path, the goal is to reveal more of your soul. And we reveal more of our soul by removing those blockages. And so things are happening to us to assist us in seeing where we need to grow. What mindsets are not serving us? Peter, do you want to say something?
I was going to ask you had mentioned we were having a conversation the other day on the extra 2 years, and the question came up, well, wait a minute, if Joseph was so elevated, then why would he be fallen? And you said actually it was presumably a choice by him to do that actually for himself and for us. And I just thought maybe you could expound on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's actually a choice, but I think that, I asked the question, when Joseph asked the wine steward to help him out, hey, bro, please remember me when you get to the other side. When he asked him that, did he realize that it was the wrong thing to do? And I'm going to say he realized it right away. He realized his consciousness was in the wrong place. He was putting his trust in the wine steward as opposed to saying, maybe this wine steward will be the vehicle that the creator will use to spring me from jail. So that's one level. But on another level, Joseph could easily say to himself, I had to fall in this way because I know there are future generations that need to benefit from the challenges that I have. And so here he is giving us the benefit of embracing processes in a way that he didn't. So he's giving us the opportunity to leverage off of what he did, that his lack of certainty and trust in the light, that everything was happening for him. I mean, that's really where he fell. He didn't realize this was happening for him. Because of that, he needed 2 more years to learn the lesson. Just like we have experiences and processes we're going through. It's like, when will this be over already? Well, when I learn my lesson. It's giving me the opportunity to remove blockages. And so what you see, the end of this 2 year period, thanks for bringing this up, Peter. At the end of this 2 year period, right here at the beginning of Miketz, is an inflection point in Joseph's life. He is in this downward spiral of his brothers and the slave and the sold into slavery and then in prison and all these negative things. This end of the 2 year period is the inflection point. It's uphill from here. He is now come into his own. And so for us also, it's an opportunity for us to see the end in all the processes we're in and to get to our next level, just like Joseph gets to his. So it's a huge opportunity for us, a huge takeaway for us to embrace the processes we're in and to see them as opportunities presented to us so we can move to our next level. And that's the significance of Miketz, of after the 2 year period. So thanks for bringing that up, Peter, again. Okay, let's continue because Rabbi Chia, it says Rabbi Chia opened the discussion with the verse. He could have just said, Rabbi Chia says, but it doesn't say that. It says Rabbi Chia opened the discussion with the verse. It could have just said Rabbi Chia's, bringing us a verse. What's the point of opening? Because when Rabbi Chia says, when Rabbi Chia opens, it is opening channels to the upper realm. He is creating additional openings for us to the upper realm to channel blessings for us and the world. That's what we're connecting to here. You could go blow right through this and never see that in the significance. But when the Zohar says opened, that's what's happening. Channels, gateways, doorways, however you want to look at it, places that were closed to us before are now open to us. And so we want to really take advantage of that opportunity. And so what's the verse? It's a verse from Job. And Job represents this really tragic character who loses everything. And then because of his commitment, because of his certainty in the light, he regains everything that he lost in his life without going too far into the story. And so there's a lot of negative things that are discussed, but really that negativity serves a purpose. And so when the verse from Eve says he puts an end to darkness and searches out all perfection, the son of darkness and the shadow of death, what we're talking about here is removing darkness from our world. I mean, unless you're under a rock, the past week, there's been a lot of darkness, a lot of just like seemingly like things happening just don't make sense. I mean, they make sense because there's a lot of negativity in the world. So like you could look at the world and say, by the way, there's a great, we've discussed this before, but there's a great little summary that Marcus Weston from the London Center gave. And if someone can remember, we can repost it to One World if I haven't already, if someone hasn't already. But he really says that it looks like there's more negativity in the world now than ever. But that's just an appearance. The negativity has to show up in order for us to shine the light on it. So a lot of what's happening right now can be viewed from the perspective of removing negativity from the world. Just like So all these things are tragic. It doesn't remove the tragic aspect of what's going on. There's tremendous pain and suffering going on, but it is happening as we are marching towards the Gemara Tikkun, the final correction. It is assisting us in removing the negativity. Is this the only way? No, it's not the only way. We could be studying more Zohar, pouring more light on the world, and people will all of a sudden not be as under the influence of the other side to do the crazy, destructive, painful things. So it doesn't have to be this way. Emphasizing even more so the importance of what do we do about a world with negativity? Well, we try and pour more unconditional love into the world. This is one reason why when we start class, I'm always trying to set our consciousness into connecting to Ahavat Chinam, unconditional love. We need more of that in the world. I'm reading a great book right now called Never Split the Difference. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's about negotiation. The guy who wrote the book is a former head of hostage negotiating for the FBI. Well, what does that have to do with this? Everything, because he says when you're engaged in negotiation for the release of like hostages, you have to figure out what they want, what is near and dear to those hostage takers, and not just about the money. Maybe sometimes it is, but he's saying it's you. The more you can show yourself as hearing, not validating, but hearing what is going on for the kidnappers, the more likely you're able to forge a win-win at the end of the day.
Hey, David,
Yes.
I'm laughing. I just want to say in sales, because I say to my team all the time, and I guess I should have realized all along that really was a Kabbalistic concept. In a line I frequently use on the phone with potential clients is, I know what I want. What do you want? Right? And it's interesting because that sounds in some way selfish. It's totally opening because you're trying to say, I know why I'm calling you, but what do you want from the opportunity?
Yeah, and I do a similar thing also in business settings. I always started meetings off pretty consistently with, I mean, I have things I want to review and show you and talk about, but what's on your mind? Like I want to hear from them first, always. And so, like, even in a hostage negotiation, you want to hear from the person. They don't want to talk, they just want the money. But he's always saying that's only what's happening on the surface. There's much more happening below the surface. And so I want to relate that to the kind of world we want to have. I don't have to agree with people who are doing negative things, but it's helpful for me to understand where they're coming from because I'm able to shed more light on the situation. Apparently, that's what happens in hostage negotiation. God forbid we should ever know from that, but that goes on. So, okay, so that's what that verse is about. Let's continue. Aaron.
He puts an end to darkness is the end of the left, which is not included within the right. It is the Satan, the angel of death.
It's literally doing battle with the angel of death. Literally. When someone decides to pick up a gun and commit untold, merciless pain and suffering and death, who do you think is telling them to pick that? They're succumbing to the influence of the angel of death. They're becoming a channel for that energy. For us, in reading this, we are neutralizing that energy in the world. As we read this, as we connect to this, we're channeling energy of understanding, of more peace, of more composure, of more respect for people, of more unconditional love, of more treating people with human decency. That is what's going on here. That's why this week, this particular portion is here, and that's why we're connecting to it. Let's continue.
He hovers about the world and incites people to sin.
Okay, so look, is this just a metaphor? No, it's not just a metaphor. When all of a sudden a negative thing pops into your head, we think we brought it back from our memory banks. The brain doesn't actually work that way, apparently. That does not memory, but when we are conscious, when our conscious turns to negative thoughts, we're picking up the frequency of the Satan. when I took Kabbalah 1 20 years ago, approximately, obviously I was like a toddler. When I took Kabbalah 1 20 years ago, I remember that, and maybe some of you remember this, but the way it was taught was like your consciousness is just receiving a radio station frequency. And there's only two stations. There's KAOS, chaos, and there's the light. And so like without an effort to connect to a higher consciousness, the default always is the radio dial goes to chaos, goes to negativity, goes to emptiness, goes to lack of fulfillment, goes to poor me, victim consciousness. I need more recognition. I need more. I need more. I need more from externals. I need the first slice of pizza. I mean, it's like it's all externals. And like what we're always trying to do is override that default setting of chaos and tune into the other radio station, which is WLITE, the light. We're trying to connect to the light of the creator. We're trying to raise our consciousness, to move it from nefesh to ruach to neshama, to move it from this victim consciousness, this needing stuff, all my needs, all my desire to receive for myself. And by raising our consciousness, get to the place where this is all happening for me. And ultimately, if it's all happening for me, I want it to happen for the world. I want to become that channel. And we're always working on our consciousness. And things are going to happen. You're going to be insulted terribly. And you're going to be, oh my God, I can't believe they just did that. Yes, Ron.
I just want to refer back to what you said about the book you read. And years ago,
Never split the difference. I'm reading it.
what is it called again?
Never split the difference.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I got to get that book. But I took a seminar, this was a personal development seminar years ago, and the emphasis was on listening, like without like adding your own point of view, like just listening from nothing, right? And
Yes.
I remember the leader said like something really profound. She was like, like you can't speak peace with someone who wants to wage war. You have to be able to speak their language. You got to meet them where they're at.
Right. That's right. I mean, it's a very advanced communication skill
Yeah.
to pick up on what's going on. But there are tells when you're communicating with people, there are tells. There are things that are going on and will give you an indication as to where they are, how they need to be communicated to.
Hmm.
And again, but if I'm so caught up in my own little movie, I'm not seeing that. And so part of what we always need to do is rise above what's going on for us. But it's not easy because I was insulted.
Yeah.
My feelings were hurt. And again, I need to be with those hurt feelings. I can't blow those hurt feelings off. I need to process that. If I ignore it, now I'm carrying those hurt feelings around. So the other thing that goes on is like we tell ourselves, toughen up.
Mhm.
You know, you need thicker skin. I think the only way to get there, it's not really toughening up, it's not really getting thicker skin, is by processing the things that go on, we become more resilient. We're able to roll with it. We're able to see it. It's actually happening for me. If you realize, there's a whole Instagram I saw, like when people show up in your life in certain ways. I think
Yeah.
Ron, you saw the same one. When people show up in life in certain ways, like, you know, they're showing up because you need to learn the lesson of changing some of your behaviors. And so really this happens not only on an individual level, but it's also happening on a global level. And what do I mean? Well, the more people that are aligned and growing in this way, the more and greater impact we're having in the world. This is why it's much more powerful for us to get together as a group to study Zohar, because there's more of us. It's like one channel versus a bunch of channels. It's just a stronger pull of light in the upper realm that we're bringing into this world. So anyhow, we're out of time, but I just want to emphasize that yes, there's a lot of pain and suffering that's going on in the world. There always is. Sometimes it's just a bit more visible, but there is a lot of pain and suffering going on in the world. There's a lot of crazy things that are going on in the world. There's a lot of people walking around, they do not feel safe because legitimately they're not safe. And for us, the opportunity is to see that we have the ability to become greater channels of light into this world. And ultimately, the more light we can channel into this world, the quicker the process the world is going through, which is moving towards Bila Mavel and Etzach, to end the pain and suffering in our world, which ultimately is what we're all working on. Okay. Thank you all for joining. Love you all. Shabbat Shalom, Chodesh Tov, and Chag Chanukah Sameach. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for reading, Aaron.
Everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye.